let's talk about G4 Claims, because if you've been in a road traffic accident and it's not your fault, G4 Claims can make it easy for you. They will provide you with complete accident management support that you require, and they're going to recover your costs from the at-fault party. Now, they will sort you out with a like-for-like vehicle replacement, and they're also going to organise your vehicle to be repaired at one of their approved body shops and returned back to your front door. Now, should your vehicle be deemed a write-off, they're going to recover the pre-accident value for your car and write you a big fat cheque for it. And best of all, it's not going to cost you a penny, as they charge the at-fault insurance direct. They don't cold call, they don't buy data, and once they've processed your claim, your insurance will remain unscathed. And the best thing is, Nicole and the team over there, they don't take on your case if they don't think that you can help you. So, if you've been in a road traffic accident, or you know someone that has, get on to G4 Claims on 01698 767 172. That's 01698 767 172. Get them on the internet, not at faultclaim.com, or find them on social media under G4 Claims Limited. G4 Claims, not at fault claims, made easy. 100% of your claim. G4 Claims.
That was G4 Claims. Let's welcome to Football Daft a lady you will have seen on every sports channel going, BT Sports, Sky Sports, Premier Sports and the BBC. On top of that, she also has her own sports behavioural consultancy and has worked with football clubs across the UK. It is Connie McLaughlin. Welcome to the show, Connie.
Hello, guys.
Thanks for coming on, Connie.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on. What are you up to now? Are you in a loft or something as I see you right now?
So I'm currently, we're renovating our house right now, which seemed like a really good idea at the time. And then in reality, it's not quite as fun. So I'm down at my in-laws just now because they are sort of a nice wee halfway house, and I've been painting all morning, or actually choosing paint colours, but it's not really high quality banter.
you mentioned there that you're at your in-laws. I believe that you've recently got hitched. Is that right?
Yeah, I did for the third time.
Congratulations, Connie. Congratulations.
Aye.
So tell us about it. What happened? Did it all go smoothly?
Was it any good?
Well, do you know what I know something really weird, right? And I don't know if this is just me, but everybody keeps on saying, like, oh, your wedding's the best day of your life and all the rest of it. And I was a bit like, is it though? Is it going to be? I was a bit like, I didn't really have a lot of like expectation around it. And then I did it, and it was amazing.
Was that?
Were you steaming?
No, well, I had a couple of drinks, but I hadn't. Oh, that's another story. I've not been drinking for about a year and a half because of COVID, but that's another day.
Really?
So that was like the first time I'd had like a couple of drinks, and so that coupled with like everybody being together for the first time, everybody getting an opportunity just to like chat and have a wee dance, and honestly, it was like folk were let loose.
So you were allowed to play music? You're allowed to play music? 'Cause I know that only that did that, because obviously I can't folk that were going, well, I'm not getting married until this ban on music's been lifted.
We were allowed to have music. We weren't really allowed to dance.
Right. Of course. Cool.
Old chestnut.
It was honestly, it was just amazing. And
whereabouts did you get married?
Well, it was originally meant to be in Tuscany, and then that got sacked. And then it was in Edinburgh. So we'd sort of couple of wee different locations in Edinburgh, and we just had loads of lovely drinks and dinners and people there, and just the whole experience was just
that's good. I'm engaged. You've kind of gave me a wee buzz, to be honest with you, about getting married. Don't get me wrong.
Grado's getting
When
married.
did you get married?
No, until 2023 summer. So looking forward to it.
I can't wait for your stag do, man.
I know it's got to be.
Honestly, I genuinely, I was never really a big one, and like the whole, like, you know, like a lot of people are right into getting married, and this is like a big thing for them and all that, like, which is totally fine. That just really wasn't me until actually I was like, now I actually get why people are really into this, because it's absolutely brilliant.
That is a good day. I remember my wedding, everybody was...
Was you not just at the hospital? You nearly missed it, didn't you?
Aye, I nearly missed mine. You
nearly passed away? You're laughing at what you did.
It's just random sitting talking to Connie McLaughlin about how I nearly died before my wedding.
Measles or something like that?
Measles? I had meningitis. Got meningitis. I was in the hospital for about 4 months, but...
I read it in the paper. I didn't know you then, but I read it in the paper.
I was ill for a while. What a bad year to get no well, know what I mean? But it was a great day, my wedding. It was brilliant. I made it.
Well,
know what I mean? Thanks.
A round of applause, ladies.
Anyway, on to Connie McLaughlin and football chat. Are Scotland going to the World Cup?
Oh, Stephen, I really hope so. Like, do you know, if you'd asked me this on whatever night it was after the Denmark game, I didn't really have a lot of hope. We were covering the game for 5 Live, and I was sitting in the studio with Charlie Adam and Roddy Forsyth, who's one of our football reporters, and we were all kind of just looking around, like when that second goal went in, and you're thinking, oh no, is this going to be an absolute row? And you know, what, obviously with a lot of injury problems with COVID and all of that, and just people sort of generally injured. And I was really hoping that it wasn't going to like end this whole campaign with a bit of a whimper. So obviously the Moldova game was a wee bit of a foregone conclusion, but I'll be honest and say, like, I wasn't as confident, because sometimes games like the Moldova game could be the games that
I said that earlier on, Connie, honest to God.
Yeah.
So I think, given the fact that was such a narrow win and we got through it, and that gave me a bit of confidence in it, and everything was hinging on the Austria game, and I was sitting, honestly, I feel as if, like, from a nervous point of view, like, I feel as if my nervous energy is just off the scale when I'm watching Scotland. I hate it, but I love it. And that's now giving me that sort of feeling where I'm like, right, we've got a real chance. And it just keeps you going, doesn't it? That feeling of like...
It does.
But as Stephen once said, it's the hope that kills you.
So,
don't you feel as if that's changed though, a wee bit?
Aye, well, it's like Credo was saying earlier, it is kind of one of the things where, just with the Euros quite fresh in the mind, and what a buzz that gave the whole country, and you want it again, don't you? You just want it again. So
I mean, you want to get
see on that, see on the Euros, because we obviously get a flavour of kind of like from a pundit's point of view, and we like get bits and pieces from like, you know, particularly from my point of view, because I work a lot in England, so there's a different viewpoint of how we are sort of viewed in Scotland and all the rest of it. Like, do you think we're going to make it?
I'm 50-50. I'm not 100% confident. I think it's got, even if we finish second, which we still need to consolidate second place, the teams you can still get in the playoff, like for the second place, it's going to be very, very difficult.
I think just nothing surprises us, innit? We just don't know which route we can't.
It would be just their luck that we would beat, like I said previously, we would beat Israel, beat Moldova, and then draw against the Faroes and need a win against Denmark. But then we'd end up beating Denmark, you know. It's pure Scotland, isn't it?
Whatever way we do it, I don't mind.
If we get there, are you going to get to go, Connie?
I don't know. Well, so we do this. We did the Euros football breakfast during the Euros there for the BBC, for BBC Scotland, and I think I would imagine that'll come back in some form. But the way travel is and stuff just now, I honestly, I can't. I mean, I was meant to be going to Seville actually next week for the Europa League, but I can't go because I have not my second jacket.
Oh really? Aye, well,
we need to like kind of push back travel. So I mean, I don't even know if it gets to that point, if the BBC would travel for it. I don't know.
Because what's happening? Like, see, even like commentators right now, it's all done in studio. Like, nobody's flying at all. And are you worried as a journalist? Where you think, like, obviously, because we've had journalists on here before on the show, and they're telling us like the perks are going to all the fitbit stadiums in the world. You kind of worried a wee bit that, you know, network tellies, companies turn around and go, well, it's cheaper for us just to kind of leave here.
Just do it in a studio.
Do you know what I mean?
And watch it.
But like, yes and no. Because I think that like there are loads of perks, and you know, and I've been lucky enough to travel a bit with my job, and that's all great, and it's lovely. I think the longer I do it, like, it's nice to have like a kind of balance. So it's nice to go to different places every now and again. But sometimes like Europa League and Champions League can be quite relentless. You know, and because I travel quite a bit up and down to Manchester from Glasgow. Like, sometimes you're just like, if you don't need to go, then it's not the end of the world as much as it's.
Is that Media City? Is that Media City you go to?
But
to be fair, but it's, you know, it's no Manchester, it's Qatar. It's a right good holiday.
I know exactly. it is quite great. But listen, I know there's nothing better than being there, being at the ground when you're, you know, in like a massive competition like that. Like, you want to be there. Do you know what I mean? If it's Qatar, the World Cup. Like,
Don't get mad with it after the game. We're like,
I'm already sitting thinking
Messi or somebody like that.
I'm already sitting
I was thinking more Tom English or something like that.
if we do get there, I'm thinking, man, I don't know if I'm going to do Panto that year. So it's going to be in December.
Aye, I know, that's a good shoot. I just can't get out of it in December. I'm surprised I didn't know that.
2 shows in bloody the 15th of December in Scotland are playing, not
Scotland play England
Aye,
at the Qatar National Stadium.
I don't know.
But then, you know what it is? It would just be like, I've never been to Qatar. I've been to Dubai before, and it is obviously quite a nice temperature, isn't it? Like round about that time.
Oh, aye.
Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? I really hope that by the time we get to the World Cup, that there'll be more sort of movement and stuff, and we'll be able to even make that decision whether we go or not. So
Fingers crossed.
Here, I want to ask you a question, right? How do you, what happens to be a sports journalist? What do you do? What do you take it to school? What do you do at university? How do you become a sports journalist? I think that's the greatest. I think that sounds like such a great job to aspire to for young folk, man. What's the route?
So for me, I always wanted to be a journalist, like always, which was quite an unusual thing. I think that even when you're at school, you properly know what you want to do, and it was either that or I wanted to be an actress.
All right.
Even
There you go, aye.
and
I know a guy that can get you in at River City.
You need your second jag first, but
and I love football, so for me it was kind of easy to make that jump between, right, well, I want to do this, so this makes a lot of sense to sort of marry them both together. And I remember at school I had an amazing drama teacher a guy called Mr. Russell, and he used to sit me down and be like, right, okay, this is how you would do it, and this is the kind of route and whatever else into it. And for me, like, I started off, like, I went to uni, I changed my course. I was doing journalism initially, and then long story short, like, it was in Edinburgh. I was only like 16. I think I was just turning 17. I was really young. I didn't drive in at the time, and I was like, right, Edinburgh's dead far away. Like, it was like 3 buses and a train, and it was like a big deal then for me. And then I ended up changing courses and going to uni at Cali. And they said, oh, listen, we're going to do a journalism course in like next year, so come and do like a social sciences course with us, and then like the next year you can transfer into journalism. Anyway, the journalism course actually didn't materialise for another 3 years, and by that time I was done. So I continued on doing like politics and psychology. And then I worked for a year. So I worked in the gas board. So I was like, I was like a team leader, like helping people sell. So my team like sold gas and electricity, and I would my team were probably one of those annoying people that phoned you, telling you to like change your gas and electricity or help your plumber out. By the way, brilliant grounding, like great, like.
Oh, you learn for that. You learn for jobs like that. That's when you learn to become an adult and how to deal with folk and.
Brilliant, and you had a bloody fortune. I was like,
well, what else it gives you the gift of the gab as well, doesn't it?
Correct.
So there you go. That stands you in good stead for a wee bit of journalism, I would think.
Especially when you need to talk rubbish if there's a good half an hour to fill in a programme. If I start
that's us most weeks on this.
If I start veering into the pros and cons like green energy, then you know that I've
tell us this one, Connie, right? You're put on the spot, you're commentating on Brazil versus Argentina, the Polish come on, take the Argentine or the Brazilian players off the park. And then you've got an hour and a half television time to fill. What would you do?
That's your pundit's job, though.
Oh, I suppose.
Aye.
Bloody pundits.
So my job's just to make sure that like you're able to keep the chat going. So actually, the presenter's job's the easiest bit in a way, because you're almost like the kind of orchestrator. So you're just sitting like fielding the questions and just making sure that consistently the chat keeps on going. And honestly, the job of a good presenter is you don't really hear that often from them. So see if you notice when you listen to radio programmes or telly programmes, if you're hearing too much for that presenter, then
they'll try to get their shit in, aren't they?
Yeah, you shouldn't really be. You should be letting your pundits do their thing and kind of sitting and talking away.
So would you just went like that? You make it out,
my usual is whoever your pundit is. So, John. and then you just start talking. So that's why they earn the big bucks, is because it's their insight and nobody wants to hear from me. They want to hear what the pundits got to say. So
well, we want to hear from you, Connie. Do you know what I mean? That's why we've got you on. Do you know what I mean?
Because it is a very, very interesting job. But have you ever had any mistakes on the radio or the telly? You ever kind of done like the end where you've kind of went, oh no, man, I can't believe I've said that?
All the time.
Aye.
Like we had the Daily Barber on last week, and she says he put a shite over the top of the bar or something like that.
We say the what was it? The score shite. Score shite.
On the score shite.
Aye, score shite. She said.
So I've done two actually. I think both including shite as well. So the first one was I was covering. It was BBC Radio Scotland, and I'd said something. I'd said about the St Mirren Twitter site. Right, I've got like a wee tiny bit of a wee snaky S, right? So I was none the wiser, and then Richard Gordon's like apologising. I would just have to say sorry for Connie's language there. And I was like,
you're joking.
I'm actually saying on air. I was like, going to do me a favour? Will somebody text me and tell me what I've just said? Like, because I have no idea. And one of the boys had texted, "You said shite on the radio." And then the other one was, I'm sure it was shite again, but it was something to do with a site or something. But it was during the Scottish Cup draw, right? Oh my God! And I remember I'm sure it was me, Simon Donnelly, someone else, I can't remember who was there, and in front of you, so like the camera's kind of here, and on your left hand side there's like the row of really like quite serious people from the Scottish FA. They're there to like everything's all above board and it's all like properly like done properly, like adjudicators and stuff like that. And I've heard myself say I can't it was like shite or shit or something like that, and I've just seen them all going and I'm like, oh, for God's sake, like, could you not have just held it together? As much as I'm looking that way, you're in my peripheral vision. So then you're doing the whole rest of the draw, trying to keep it together as if it's like absolutely fine and you're not even bothered about it. I came off here and I was like, oh my God.
Could have been worse, man. Could have been like Rod Stewart doing it, you know what I mean?
That was a nightmare doing that. That was... No, I don't want to talk about it again. It was very, very hard because they rehearsed it and they moved the cameras between the rehearsal and the live thing. So I held the ball up to what I thought where the camera was, which in the rehearsal was right in front of me. And then when they done it live, they moved it, so I was going and moving it a bit.
So I know the thing with the cut draw, honestly, this is a really weird thing to say, and I've actually come in quite recently. See, out of anything I would ever do, like anything, live TV, live radio, whatever, I don't really ever tend to get that nervous. The cup draws, no matter if it's like I did the Premier, the League Cup draw quarterfinals a couple of weeks ago, and like that's the only thing I really get nervous for because like it's so serious.
Oh, I know.
Because it turns into a cursing mess.
I was all over the place.
It was how quickly Grado was turning round to a certain camera.
And then see because Rod Stewart had done that thing and he done it obviously intentionally to be funny and it was hilarious. On Twitter they're all going, he's trying to be funny, he's being stupid and all that. And I fucking what? If I was going to do something funny, I'm sure I would do something better than if I can get it on camera. You know what I mean?
It's a minefield, the cup draws.
Never again.
If you're listening BBC, Shell Suit Bob is available for cup draws.
Don't let me stand next to the guy you done it with. He's 7'9".
Kieran, the basketball player.
I can't reach the ball.
I can't reach the ball.
Imagine Chris doing it. That'd be amazing.
Somebody holding you up like that, man.
Why he's a punty?
You would just hear the horn coming out if you were doing it.
Honestly, he's always bothered it.
That would be funny.
So if that makes you nervous then, Connie, what's the favourite gig you've done? What's your favourite when you look back so far?
I think for me, I love doing telly and it's great and all the rest of it, but I love radio. I love radio.
That's good, isn't it, man?
I just feel. Do you like radio?
I like it now. I like it. It's became a passion now.
He's got his own radio show now.
He does breakfast show on Go Radio. See, Connie thought you just like listen to it.
Connie was like, "What's Go Radio?"
Is that one of the pirate stations?
You're dead funny.
Does it with a guy called Crofty?
What's great about it is you've got, I don't know, I feel as if you can be kind of more. You can be more yourself. You've got more time. Just it's more immediate. It's you've got that kind of opportunity just to connect a wee bit more, I think, with your audience. And so for me, I love 5 Live. This is my total. I listen.
I love 5 Live, man.
it's just the best thing ever. And I think the first time I ever did 5 Live Sport for me was just like, I was sitting in the studio and I was like just ready to go on air, and I was like, like a total imposter syndrome moment where you're just sitting going, why are they just about to let me on the radio here? Like, why is this thing? And I'm like pretending I'm totally fine with it, but inside I'm like that.
Inside you're like that. Don't say shite. Don't say shite. Don't say
Don't
shite.
mention St Mirren or their Twitter. Right. So, but then do you know what? It's really funny. I think as well. Like, really quickly that becomes quite normal. So then you're like, and then it's the next thing you do, and it's like, oh, that feels quite normal as well. And it's like you kind of just get used to that becoming a new kind of normal. It's exciting. Good.
Do you agree, Grado? You agree? Yeah.
I love it now because you're right. You can come on and you can and it's no script. You can say what you want and blather away, and you're right and put a wee connection with the crowd and stuff like that. I'm in the same line. Just what he's laughing at.
I'm not laughing at anything. Well, no, I'm just thinking about how fucked I would be if I was on the radio.
I just love how when we have somebody on the talk about radio, Grado gets so defensive when we have a wee giggle about it. It's like, don't talk about my radio show. Don't talk about my pals.
Do you do like music and stuff?
I do the music. I would play music. I no repeat 9 to 5 work day. We don't repeat a song between 9 and 5.
That's good.
And we've got the 10k. We've got the 10k taxi as well. All you need to do is answer 10 questions. You just fill in go to the website. This is go.co.uk. Head to the win section, fill in your name, and tell us where you'll be at 8:10 every morning, Monday to Friday. We'll send Glasgow Taxi to your door. Answer the 10 questions. We'll give you £10,000. We're here till 10 o'clock.
And next. And here is Paolo Maldini.
That's Paolo Maldini.
Paolo Maldini.
Aye, so Connie, top right, we're doing the wee teammates thing for our Patreon subscribers, right? And you were talking about interviewing Paolo Maldini, and Crystal thought you said Paolo Nutini, right? So I'm a big fan of AC Milan. Right, I've got the top on here. I love Paolo Maldini, right? So what was that like?
Aye, that's cool.
So first thing I've got to say is I'm a huge Juve fan.
Aye.
So Connie, thanks for coming on, and we'll speak soon.
I don't deal with the rust in any. So for me, like, I just loved Italian football. It's really boring.
Same.
Tell me this one. Did you grow up watching Football Italia on a Saturday morning?
On Channel 4?
So that's the reason for me that I thought that sports journalism was a good idea, because James Richardson changed the whole way that I looked at how football was delivered and how football was packaged. Because actually I was used to like growing up watching things like Grandstand and kind of sports scene and sports and like whatever that Scott Sport and stuff like that.
Old men.
Like,
Des Lynam and Archie McPherson and all that.
Very twee.
I know, but for me as like a younger girl, that's still turning you on. Do you know what I mean? It's not like
I don't know. Des Lynam's quite a good looking fucking guy.
Not in the age, he's not. Nothing.
And then you see him, and you see James Richardson sitting in a coffee shop, not
casual
papers out and all that.
A wee espresso.
And he's making it fun. He's making it like a story, which captures your imagination.
Yeah.
And honestly, watching that for me became quite obsessive. So like all my pals were all sitting like going out on a Saturday morning, or they were like trying to tape going live or whatever, and I was taping Football Italia or Gazette Football Italia.
Jesus, he was right ahead of his time then, wasn't he, when you think about it?
Guys, you really was. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say I think Channel 4 Football Italia is the best football programme that there's ever been.
I love it.
Even the tune when it was starting, it was absolutely amazing. When it was like, the only bad thing about it was Juventus.
Don't say that.
Remember when they get relegated for cheating?
Well, can I tell you though, at that point, right, that's
I can't get involved in that
ever again, because like of my era, the Juve of my era were obviously the team that they were really successful at that point. Like actually only about, well, my now husband, right, or for my first birthday, this is probably why I ended up marrying him, but he's like, so happy birthday, here's like a wee thing, got me some clothes and all the rest of it, that was nice. And then he got me this book, and I had to open this book up, and he's like, right, in 3 weeks time or whatever, we're going to Turin.
Nice.
Like thing at the new Deli Alpi, which is obviously not the one that was there at, like when I was kind of watching it, and this whole kind of UV thing. We went to Turin. Honestly, Like it was the best experience I've ever had at a football stadium, because I wasn't there working. I wasn't there like as, you know, kind of as a fan as you would be in Scotland, because obviously everybody's got their Scottish team. But this was like a kind of reenactment of my teenage years in a football stadium. It was so amazing. So you're right. I think that passion for me began with that football programme, and this is what's so amazing about the jobs that you do.
That's good.
So what you're telling us is you're sitting here doing an interview with us because of James Richardson.
Basically, do you want to know what's even funnier? My agent phoned me a couple of months ago, and she's like, "I need to tell you something. Like, this is quite big news, whatever for you." She's like, "Guess who's joining the agency?" And I was like, "Who?" She's like, "James Richardson." I was like,
He does the fantasy football now. I do fantasy football, the Premier League fantasy football, and you watch the wee things, the fantasy football show, and he does it. He hosts it.
Aye.
James Richardson, he's a legend. But the same thing happened to me at 21st. Me and my wife, she was my girlfriend at the time, she took me for my 21st to Milan. We went to San Siro.
That's
and it was kind of the same thing. Aye.
See, I was
my 14th birthday, my dad took me go karting.
Aye. And then for your 15th, the full Celtic team took you to Dortmund. Sorry, Greg, what were you saying?
no, I was just saying. I would say Juventus is probably my favourite Italian team.
Aye, whatever, mate. Anyway. No, man, I've always AC Milan. George Weah, Frankie Baresi, Dimitro Albertini,
I think it's
Costa Curta, Shevchenko.
I think it's because I think it's just because we played them in 1995-96, and then I also think it was because when I in Spain, remember you used to get the snidey taps? Remember you used to get the snidey because they would come in the same box, you would get the top and the shorts.
And the socks and all.
Aye, and it would have the sponsor on it, but it wouldn't have like the sport make.
And I remember,
and I get the Juventus ones, I think I would probably also
I remember Del Piero scored a worldie past Gorham, man.
No, it was against Gorham, was it Billy Thompson? Was it
Billy Thompson, so nice, well done.
Aye.
So who's your all-time favourite Juve player then?
Del Piero.
Aye.
Delpers.
Honestly, like to the point where I still follow him on Instagram, and he's moved to LA. And I stayed in LA for a wee while, and I was like to my brother, I was like, honestly, when I found out he'd moved to LA, I was like, Steve, I told you, like we're synchronized in some way at some sort of soul level. He's moved to LA. My brother's like,
I was reading a story about him the other day when Juve get put down the leagues. Alex Ferguson tried to sign him for Man United, and he approached him and he said, "Listen, I'd like you to sign for the club." And he says, "This is the moment when Juventus have needed me the most. And I won't be leaving." Do you know, you don't get that anymore.
And do you know what else I love about him? He fucking loves Oasis.
Does he?
He loves Oasis as well.
The Little Prince, as he's known.
Tell you what.
That's right.
And I think like that's like you very rarely get a player like that, you know, I suppose apart from like you've seen with Messi, which I think is even still weird. I think I might just pretend Messi's not at PSG because I'm not really sure how I feel about it.
It's weird.
Like,
it's weird.
It's bizarre that a player who goes through his whole career, well, his whole adult career anyway, with the one team, and there's pros and cons. A lot of people would say about development and stuff like that. But he's right. That was the point where Juventus, if he turned round and left at that point, I think there would be a black mark on the history of his connection with that football club, and I think he must have known that. He's not as if he needed the money. I would have thought.
See, touching on Messi there, I think what a lot of people have forgotten is the fact that, see, if it wasn't about money for Messi, he could have went back to Argentina, back to the club that the Newell's old boys. So I think there's more to the Messi thing than what both sides are letting on.
Well, remember Messi saying though that for him, like, he would have stayed. It wasn't as if he was saying, "Give us more money to stay."
He said he was heartbroken when he heard the news because he was wanting to stay.
Barcelona were like, "Listen, you need to go. They need to take it."
They're in a mess, aren't they, Barcelona? They're in an absolute mess now.
It's a real sad thing to see that.
The guy's been making £1 million a week near enough for the last 5 years. Surely, if he wanted to stay that bad, he could have played for nothing like Kevin Thompson.
I know, but they wouldn't. They're not. He's not allowed to.
They couldn't.
Or is there a minimum wage or something?
There's a FIFA ruling that
even if they played them £1 apparently or whatever, or some.
I love how we're talking about Messi and Kevin Thompson in the same sentence. It's brilliant.
It's something to do with, I don't know the ins and outs, I remember reading it somewhere that if that had been the case, the league wouldn't have allowed them to be able to do that. So that's why they had to. Yeah. I'm assuming they also would have had to have taken the fee for him.
Could I play them as a trialist every week?
So Connie, you're talking about love for Juventus. Do you have a Scottish team? Do you want to reveal if you've got a Scottish team?
Don't do it.
I think do you know what? Like, I always have a bit of an issue with this, because I think that if you're a Scottish football journalist in Scotland, you've got a Scottish team, right? And if you didn't have a Scottish team, then I think it would be quite strange that, you know, to have that kind of level of passion for a country, for football, and not being somewhere invested in it. For me, I grew up a Celtic fan, and I don't think I've ever made any real secret about that.
I don't think you need to.
No, you don't.
That's okay.
But then I don't. But that, and I think in some ways it can be I don't know. It's not necessarily a hindrance talking about that, but I feel as if I
A bit an albatross.
You're right, but Connie, it should be a thing that you like. Everybody should be able to say who they support. It is, but it is the way the culture is in Scotland and how it is.
So you're talking about having Ailey on last week. Ailey's one of my good friends, right? And Ailey obviously can be very open about being a St Johnstone fan. It's like almost a taboo subject if I come out and say, you know, like when I was younger, I supported Celtic, or it's which I don't think is particularly fair, because I don't think it in any way doesn't allow me to do my job effectively. I don't think,
of course not,
you know, in any way impartial, because you can be. That's your job. Do you know what I mean? If it wasn't doing your job properly, then I think you'd be quite quickly found out about that. And then also, like, as doing this job, you also know who everybody supports, so it's quite annoying, because you're like, a Celtic fan or whatever. You're like, oh, really? Okay. You know?
Tell me this one then. Celtic versus Juventus at Celtic Park. Who were you supporting?
I was there, actually. And it was Celtic all the way. Of course,
even when Delpers put that free kick right into the top bin.
So see that game actually where he put that free kick into, I was in it, which now I think is like where like the Green Brigade sit. I was like in that corner, and the free kick went in just almost the kind of top left hand, or top if you're looking on the left hand side or something. I was right in that corner, and I remember being like, well done, Del Piero, but I was also gutted.
Oh no!
Whole time, and like we played each other as well.
I know.
Connie, what's sports behaviour?
Good question.
I want to know about the consultant. I'm just seeing it done. I want to know what's that about?
All right. So basically, I started a company about 7 or 8 years ago, because I said to you before that when I was at uni, I had done the psychology stuff. Latterly, so I went back to uni and did a broadcast journalism postgrad, and that was all great chat. Did all the stuff I needed to do at Radio Clyde, then moved to Sky, and then when I was down at Sky, I had a wee bit of a kind of, wee bit of an epiphany where I was like, I don't really see myself doing this every single day. I felt as if it wasn't really like making me feel I want to jump out my bed every single day and run to work, right? And I always kind of thought at that point, like, I feel as if, like, if you're here and you're not here for a very long time, I want to really love what I do. And I was had lost that feeling a wee bit about my job. And I had this is quite a strange set of circumstances, but I went along to this meditation class in Leeds where I was living at the time. And I remember being in that class and being like, feeling quite like I think I was kind of on the like mentally I was struggling being down there. It was the first time I'd been on my own, and I didn't really know what to do. I felt a wee bit like trapped in a job that I didn't really like. There was all this kind of hoo-ha about, oh, like, you're going down there, it's your opportunity to kind of like really make it, whatever the hell that means, right? And I felt like I was failing, and I was like, if I come back up the road, I'm basically saying I can't do it, and if I don't come back up the road, I'm going to be in a situation where I'm really not very happy. So I was kind of stuck and didn't really know kind of what route to get out of it. Went to this meditation class, and in the space of an hour, I had this feeling where I felt clearer. I felt like I felt happier. I felt, and I was like walking out going, what the hell's just happened there? So if I can do that in an hour, right? Like, if I can change the way I felt with that, about that whole kind of heaviness feeling within the space of an hour, like, I want to know A, what the hell just happened, and I want to know B, how I can get more of that stuff. So it kind of sparked a wee path and journey of me exploring what that was, doing more kind of understanding, not just with the psychology side of it, but kind of more the spirituality route, because I think I was a wee bit of a kind of intuition that it was a kind of bit of both, but I didn't really know what that meant. And then I ended up going, long story short, went back to uni again. I did another master's in like a culture and team coaching, and kind of moved to America. Did some stuff with organizations in Chicago and LA, and really kind of got to grips with like, well, I knew what that meant for me, but like, how can I teach that to other people? And then it just naturally grew into how can I do that within groups of people. So that's kind of how that started. I ended up coming back home, and then I was like, oh, maybe I could look at how this works within an area that I know, which is football. In football, there's teams. How could I marry them both up? And then I reached out actually to Peter Houston, who was the Falkirk manager at the time, and I was like, listen, I've got this idea. I've been working on it. It's been quite successful in the States. I'm not really sure if it's going to work here because I'm not really sure we're ready for it. But let's just try it. You've nothing to lose. So we did, and it was really successful. They ended up getting to the playoff final that season. Season after that, they had like some really, I know John's like that.
Yeah, I'm like Connie. I can't remember if I texted you or whatever saying thank you very much for that because we beat you. It was in the playoff. It was brilliant. Absolutely, it was just because we were honestly, it was incredible because we were scoring so many last minute goals. I don't know what you did to Bob McHugh, by the way, Connie, but it was just like we were scoring so many last minute goals, just driving to the end. And I honestly think it had a lot to do with
seriously.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
There was a belief though, honestly.
Yep.
So sometimes that's not coming from an individual going in. That's coming from what they're creating themselves. And within that team environment, it's all about kind of looking at culture, looking at how they relate to each other, how they kind of try and grow that and how that builds. That's why teams, look at Denmark, for example, right? You see Denmark like as a footballing nation, right? They've got great players, but they've now got something that they're really building and hanging on to that is making and propelling their ability more so than probably their capabilities might suggest. And there's and that honestly, see when you're talking about people use this phrase marginal gains, but that's actually what that's about. It's using the things that are within the people that are within that team to the best of their ability, putting it all together and propelling them forward. And that's kind of what my job was at that point, was just kind of helping teams be able to do that. But I suppose the tricky thing in Scotland is that my fear initially was right, that there was not as much of a football's tricky because as we all know, right, that the lifespan of a manager is very short. That stuff takes a bit of time, and it takes time because you need buy-in from everyone, and you also need buy-in culturally. So it's not, and I'm not just talking about the team, that's got to feed down from every kind of part of the organisation. And if you get one wee bit that's not really right, or if there's kind of conflict at different parts, you end up trying to deal with all these different kind of segments before you can actually deal with the team itself.
So what you're saying is, if there's one bad apple, it can spoil the punnet.
It can, but equally, it's about the strength of the many needs to be more. Do you know what I mean? Like, so like, how do you make that kind of group stronger so that person or that the bad egg or bad apple or whatever your analogy you want to use.
Listen, he throws that in. Can I hold him a laughing, Connie?
Throw it in regularly.
It's his new bit of parter. It's a new bit of parter he found.
But it's true.
That is.
I know.
I see, I told you it's true, lads. And Connie's just proven it. So, for all the listeners, thank you very much, Connie.
What other clubs? Did you work with other clubs, Connie, with this?
So I worked with Falkirk, Kilmarnock, and then I worked in a couple of clubs in England, which I'm not really allowed to.
Oh, really?
Aye.
What did they rhyme with?
They rhyme with lawsuit.
Swiftly moving on.
But that's a good example though, because a lot of these teams and a lot of players, you're signing confidentiality stuff beforehand, because actually, like, a lot of players don't want to look like they're working on that. I think it's changed now, because this is a good 4 or 5 years ago. I do think it's changing, because like a lot of clubs will have sports psychologists. By the way, not all of them, which I'm shocked at, and a lot of them will use sports psychology when something's wrong, instead of actually using it as just the norm, like as an additional thing, a strength and conditioning coach. You look at like Brentford, you know, the guy who they've brought in to work on long throws. and like the difference that they can make with just the difference of the distance that guys can throw it, throw-ins. So this is like the type of wee things that they're seeing. And I remember listening to the Monday Night Club on 5 Live, and the guys were kind of like, oh, in my day this wouldn't have happened and stuff. But actually now they're saying like, we now realise that's one part. Like we should have done it.
Do you not think a lot of the teams have kind of they hark back to the whole faith healer Glenn Hoddle kind of thing, and they maybe don't buy into it because of the amount of basically slagging that he got for that sort of thing?
I think we're moving on for that, but I think you're right. I think as a kind of society, we're still probably quite a bit behind. You look at Djokovic. Djokovic uses meditation every day. Uses it as part of Messi. Uses that as part of his warm down and part of his kind of process of like healing injuries and stuff like that. There's all honestly, see the research and whatever that's out there is unbelievable.
It fascinates me a bit.
It does. It makes me think like, see, listen to you. You're obviously a very intelligent person. Is there anything out there that you want to? No, I could sit and listen. I don't know. You kind of remind me of Joe Rogan a wee bit. I don't know if you did. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of. I feel as if you could branch out away from sport and only other things as well. Do you get? Remember that? I don't. Is there anything else you want to sort of achieve? I know you do a lot of sport.
Do you want to go back into your world of acting? Do you want to come into River City or something?
Can I tell you something? I said to Kyle the other day, I was like, see, when I'm older and I've done what I want to do in the world of presenting, then I really want to do. I'd love to do a cameo on Holby, or like.
I could believe that. Like you're saying there, Grado, listen, I could believe like maybe in about 10 years or something you've done everything you want to do in this, she'll end up turning up in like a soap or something.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
or do you know what I really like? This is so, see, because we couldn't go on our actual honeymoon, right? We ended up going to the Cotswolds, which is brilliant. And like on the way to the Cotswolds, I was like that to Kyle, my husband. I was like, right, so like in the Cotswolds and stuff, there's this program on Radio 4 called The Archers. And I was like, I'm like, honestly, like, see, because I drive quite a lot, I quite like listening to, like, I love podcasts and all the rest of it, but I like random like Radio 4 like shows or plays.
Aye.
They're good.
All that stuff, right? Because it's a bit different, and it could be an absolute lot of guff, but it's quite good to just listen to something a wee bit different rather than the same like playlist that I've had.
Some of the voices are funny, aren't they? When you listen to
that though. I was like, oh, maybe when I'm like older, I could pop up in some Radio 4 play.
Oh, why not?
That's amazing.
Aye, why not?
Welcome to this afternoon's place now, Connie McLaughlin.
Connie McLaughlin.
So do you think you could take that system that you've kind of developed and move it into other walks of life?
That's what I meant, kind of, Chris.
So like you've got your sports behavioural thing that you've got, but say for example, just for talking sake, like going into River City and being in the studio with them, do you think that you could tailor it to like actors or office workers?
So that's what I was doing before. So I was working with kind of larger, or different businesses. So honestly, I worked from anything from like kind of like financial organizations, like kind of big banks, to innocent smoothies. Like in London, we're working with them. So like there was loads of organizations that I went in to do like sessions and stuff with. But it was so random because I then started working with a club that, again, we won't name, in England.
That rhymes with lawsuit?
Which rhymes with confidentiality. And the manager got sacked. Right? Just as I was about to, so I hadn't actually started with them, but I was just in the process of kind of going through that whole thing. And the manager got sacked. And I was like sitting and I was like, oh God, like, then I had like kind of this whole process and whole like bank of time where I'd kind of judged that I was going to be with that club, that I wasn't doing anything, and randomly, and also you're living a lifestyle based on the world that you've created for yourself, right? So I mean, I had bills to pay, I had a car at the door that wasn't going to pay itself, like I had kind of got myself into quite a nice position, but equally because it's your business, like nobody else is bringing it in for you, so like you're constantly driving that, as you know, like you'll know if you're when you're freelancing, you're doing all this kind of stuff that you guys do. And then I got a call totally out of the blue. Now, whether you call this the universal intervention, whether it's like the law of attraction or whatever,
Circle of life.
Whatever it is you use the phrase if you're like in the Lion King.
The Grand Wheeler. Is it the Grand Wheeler? The Grand Wheeler.
It's like a sliding door moment, isn't it? Where you say to yourself, either you're going down this path or you're going down another path. And I got a call from a woman, a guy at BT Sports saying, listen, we'd really be interested if you wanted to come and do some stuff with us and blah, blah, blah. And I was a bit like, no, because, you know, I'd already made the choice that I was kind of moving away for that stuff. And then actually it was like, well, there's a story about this guy who somebody told me this years ago, and it's actually a really, really interesting sort of analogy. And it was this guy who was like in a flood and he's like praying to God to come and help him. He's like, oh, you know, I'm going to die, but I need God to come and save me. So a guy went by in a boat and he's like, no, thanks very much. I'm fine for the boat. Like, you don't need to rescue me. God's going to come and get me. Oh. And then the other guy's coming over a helicopter and he's like, no, it's fine. God's going to come and rescue me. And the guy ends up drowning. And he gets to heaven and he's going, well, you said you were going to come and rescue me. He's like, well, I sent a boat and a helicopter. You're going to need to take it. So it's like, for me, my thought was like, no, you know, there's going to be something else that comes out the blue. And it's like, well, BT Sport were coming saying, right, this is an opportunity to come and take this sort of life up again if you want it. And I made that choice to just see what happened. And then things for me in this sort of walk of life on this right hand side just took off. And it was now I don't do anything with that anymore. But I live my life by those principles, or I try to, and I think it's made me a better broadcaster. I do stuff now that's not just sport. So I've been doing like the drive show, I've been covering a wee bit for in 5 Live. I've been doing early breakfast on 5 Live. I've been covering for Kay Adams and BBC Scotland, and they're all programmes that are like about life. You can't really do them without having had life experience or challenges or, you know, learning a wee bit more. So I think, like, in answer to your question, would I do more of that stuff again? Probably not, but I genuinely think it's been the best experience I've ever had, and I'm so grateful for having had, like, I suppose, the bottle to kind of follow it, because I could easily have been like, oh, I'll just stay in my lane and where I was. I knew that I was never going to be happy if I did that.
Have you never thought of training up other people to do it?
I thought about it, but I've not done it.
Well, there you go, there's something for you there.
By the way, I reckon just before we go into quiz, I think she's going to absolutely stroll this quiz, by the way.
So, Connie.
Oh, you don't know about the quiz?
Honestly, you not told about the quiz?
I didn't tell Connie about the quiz.
You know what? He gets everybody in, he doesn't tell them in case they say no.
So, Connie, honestly, it's been amazing chatting to you. I could listen to you all day, but before you have to go, every week on Football Daft, we put our guests' Scottish football knowledge to the test with our 90-second quiz. Okay?
Can I say one thing before we talk about?
You can't pass already because we've no.
See for knowledge, right? Somebody can ask what game I was at on Saturday.
What game were you at on Saturday?
Honestly, I'm not joking. I find it difficult. You know what I do? See with knowledge, right? I'll do all the stuff I need to do for a game, and then I'll be like stick it in my brain, do whatever I need to do for the game, and then it goes. I can't remember. I've got too much to think about. But anyway,
these questions will be all right for you.
We've got a wee leaderboard here as well, Conor. We've got David Martindale. Is anybody going to beat him? He's still top with 16. In joint second, it's John Sutton, Chip Young and Hamilton Scott Martin all on 15. Mark Wilson and Keith Lasley are third with 14. Other selected scores include Chip Young on 15, Ailey Barber on 13 and Gordon Duncan on 11. And we've got Barry Feastenders who's on 5. 4. And at the bottom it's singer-songwriter Karen Beattie with 1. Is there anyone on that leaderboard you really want to beat, Connie?
Gordon. Gordon Duncan, come on, Connie, you can beat Gordon on 11.
Nah, do you know what? I'm just going to see what happens.
So there's 90 seconds on the clock. You can't pass. You must give an answer, okay? And I'll let one of the chaps read the questions out.
I do.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So you have to give an answer. All right, here we go. Right, tell me when you're on, ready, John?
Yeah.
Right. Name one of the 2 new keepers called into the Scotland squad recently.
Xander Clark.
Which team did Lawrence Shanklin move to?
Some team in Belgium.
Before Scott McTominay, who was the last Scottish international to play for Man United?
Dan Fletcher.
Alfredo Morelos signed for Rangers from which team?
Oh, pass. I don't know. Can't remember.
Albion Rovers play their home game against which ground?
It's in Clydebank, isn't it? In Coatbridge. Don't know. Can't remember.
Laurie Ellis is the head coach of which Scottish team?
Wales. Dumbarton.
What club did Celtic sign Josip Juranovic from?
The Croatian team.
Nope.
I need an answer here, Connie.
Pass, go.
All right. Who do Scotland play next Wednesday?
Say it again.
Who do Scotland play next Wednesday?
Stop the clock.
Stop the clock.
John has made a mistake, Connie. We'll stop the clock. Forget that
This
question.
is embarrassing.
And then after 3, we'll start the clock again, and Grado will go to the next question.
Right, okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
Where do Queen's Park currently play their home games?
Hampden.
What team did Dundee United sign Scott McMahon from?
St Mirren.
Casper Schmeichel played for which Scottish club?
Falkirk.
Who did Celtic sign Lee Griffiths from?
Hibs.
Angus the Bull is the mascot of which club?
Pass.
Alan Power, Scott Tanser and Curtis Main all play for which club?
Inverness.
Whoopsie ding dang doodle.
Right, here we go. I'll go over the wrong answers for you, Connie.
I
before we
know,
give you
I've got
the
about 55 wrong answers.
right, okay.
I went out.
I'm going to give you a half point for this one because I made a mistake myself. Which team did John Lawrence Shanklin move to? It was Beershot, but the Belgium team in Belgium will give you that.
Give us a point.
Morelos moved from HAK in Finland.
HJK.
Albion Rovers play at Clifton Hill. Laurie Ellis is the manager of Queen's Park. Celtic signed Josip Juranovic from Legia Warsaw. Queen's Park just moved out of Hampden, so it's Firhill they play at now. Until West Hampden gets done up.
I'm sorry, I'm not having that.
You're not having that. You're not having that.
It's not a home ground. That's a temporary ground.
Right, okay, Connie. I'm not arguing with Connie, I know what she's like. Dundee United signed Scott McMahon from Hamilton. Lee Griffiths signed from Wolves, not Hibs.
Damn it! I knew it.
Angus the Bull is Aberdeen's mascot, and Alan Power, Scott Tanser and Curtis Main all play for St Mirren at the moment. I'm going to give you the point for Queen's Park. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5.
He beat Barry
for EastEnders.
He beat Barry.
Aye. And you beat Callum Beattie, that's what you said. So you're alright.
I know, that was something.
Connie, looks like you're getting in a bad mood now.
Raging.
This was all lovely chat until the end.
She's like, football daft's a lot of shite.
Now she's going home and not fuck out on your husband.
Right, Connie, it's been great talking to you.
Aye.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome. Thanks a lot
Thank
for
you.
All the best,
All
pal. Right,
everyone
take
else.
care.
Cheers. Thanks, Connie.
Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.